People don't push your boundaries because they are evil. They push them because you allow them to. And that's the part most men don't want to hear. Boundaries are not tested once. They are tested constantly. In conversations, in relationships, at work, in subtle jokes, in tone, in timing. And every time you hesitate, soften, laugh it off, or delay your response, you send a signal. This line is flexible. The world reads flexibility as permission, not because people are cruel, but because humans are wired to explore limits. If there is space, they will step into it. If there is hesitation, they will lean on it. If there is silence where firmness should be, they will interpret it as weakness. Most men believe respect is something you demand with words. It isn't. It is something you enforce with consistency. The moment you defend your boundary emotionally, you lower it. The moment you over-explain why something bothered you, you dilute its strength. Boundaries are not arguments. They are decisions. And decisions don't require debate. When someone interrupts you and you let it slide, they will do it again. When someone jokes at your expense and you smile to avoid tension, the joke becomes a pattern. When someone delays your time and you tolerate it quietly, your time becomes negotiable. None of this happens loudly. It happens gradually. Respect erodes in millimeters, not meters. People push because they are measuring your stability. They are unconsciously asking, how firm is this person? If your response changes depending on mood, comfort, or audience, your boundaries are unstable, and unstable boundaries invite pressure. Strong men don't react aggressively. They respond clearly. Short, direct, calm. No emotional spike, no justification, no need for approval afterward. That clarity recalibrates behavior immediately. Because people don't push solid walls, they push doors that look slightly open. And most boundaries look open because they are communicated emotionally instead of structurally. The truth is simple. If you don't define your limits, someone else will define them for you. Not out of hatred, but out of instinct. Stability stops testing. Hesitation invites it. And once people sense you won't bend under minor tension, they stop leaning. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling your standard. And standards only work when enforced consistently, not emotionally. Here's the deeper layer most people never see. Boundaries are social positioning tools. When someone pushes your limit, they're not just testing your patience, they're testing your hierarchy. Every interaction contains subtle negotiation. Who adjusts first? Who explains more? Who backs down? Who laughs to ease tension? The person who adjusts most loses leverage, and leverage defines rank. If you constantly adapt to maintain comfort, you train others to expect accommodation. Over time, that expectation becomes entitlement. Then entitlement becomes disrespect, and disrespect becomes your new normal. Not because people hate you, because your reactions taught them what's acceptable. Another reason people push your boundaries is inconsistency. If one day you tolerate something, and the next day you react strongly, your signals become unreliable. Unreliable signals invite further testing. Humans look for patterns. If they cannot read your standard clearly, they will probe until they find it. This is why emotional reactions weaken boundaries. When you snap after weeks of silence, it doesn't look like strength. It looks unstable. Strong boundaries are calm from the beginning. They don't escalate. They don't explode. They don't beg to be understood. They state, once, and repeat if necessary. Calm repetition builds authority. Emotional spikes destroy it. There's also something uncomfortable. Sometimes people push your boundaries because they sense internal doubt. If your voice hesitates when you say no, it sounds optional. If your posture collapses when you enforce a limit, it looks negotiable. Communication is more than words. It's tone, timing, and certainty. A boundary delivered with anxiety feels like a request. A boundary delivered with stability feels like structure. But here's the key shift. Boundaries are not about controlling other people's behavior. They are about controlling your response to it. You cannot stop someone from testing you. You can stop rewarding the test. You can stop laughing when something crosses the line. You can stop over-explaining your standards. You can stop trying to maintain harmony at your own expense. The moment people feel that pushing leads nowhere, no emotional reaction, no extra attention, no compliance, they stop pushing. Not out of respect for your words, out of recognition of your consistency. People push flexible lines. They respect firm ones. And firmness is not loud, it is steady. The final reason people push your boundaries is simple. They are trying to find the cost. Every boundary must have a cost attached to crossing it. Not anger, not drama. Cost. If someone interrupts you and there is no correction, the cost is zero. If someone disrespects your time and you still adjust, the cost is zero. If someone speaks to you in a way that lowers your standard and you respond with nervous laughter, the cost is zero. And when the cost is zero, behavior repeats. Boundaries without consequence are suggestions, and suggestions are optional. Most men think enforcing a boundary requires aggression. It doesn't. It requires withdrawal of access, shorter responses, less availability, reduced engagement, calm correction. That's it. The cost doesn't need to be emotional. It needs to be consistent. When someone sees that crossing your line results in a predictable shift, they adjust. But here's where it becomes powerful. When you enforce boundaries calmly, without visible frustration, it signals something deeper. It signals that you don't need their approval to maintain your standards. That internal independence shifts perception immediately. People sense when you're willing to lose comfort to keep position, and that willingness creates weight. Weak boundaries collapse under social pressure. Strong boundaries remain intact even when tension rises, and tension will rise. The first time you stop laughing at disrespect, it will feel uncomfortable. The first time you calmly say, "Don't interrupt me," the room may shift. The first time you don't explain yourself after saying no, someone may push harder. That push is not rejection, it's recalibration. People are testing the new line. If you hold it, the testing stops. And here's the paradox. The more stable your boundaries become, the less you need to defend them. Solid lines are rarely challenged. Unclear ones are constantly negotiated. People push your boundaries to measure your stability. They stop pushing when they find it. Respect is not requested. It is structured. And structure is built through consistency under pressure. Here's the truth most people avoid. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about revealing yourself. Every time someone pushes your limit, it exposes one thing: how much you value your own standard. If your comfort matters more than your position, you will bend. If approval matters more than clarity, you will soften. If avoiding tension matters more than self-respect, you will negotiate what should never be negotiable. And people will feel it. They won't announce it. They won't say, "I stopped respecting you." It happens silently, in tone, in timing, in how often they interrupt, in how casually they cancel, in how confidently they overstep. Disrespect is rarely loud. It grows in the space where boundaries weren't reinforced. Strong boundaries are not emotional walls. They are calm lines. You don't explode. You don't threaten. You don't argue endlessly. You simply don't adjust your standard to reduce discomfort. That steadiness changes the entire dynamic, because most people are used to resistance collapsing under pressure. When yours doesn't, recalibration happens instantly. The first time you enforce a boundary calmly, there will be tension. That tension is not a problem. It is proof that the line is real. The second time, the push will be smaller. The third time, it disappears. Not because you demanded respect, but because your behavior made disrespect inefficient. People push to see where the structure ends. When they discover it doesn't move, they stop pushing. Boundaries are not built in speeches. They are built in repetition, calm correction, consistent response, predictable standards. No emotional leakage, no over-explaining, no seeking approval after asserting yourself. The moment you become stable under minor tension, people stop testing major limits. People push your boundaries to measure your stability. They stop when they find it. And stability is quiet, but it carries weight.